Okay. Welcome. I'm Dr. Julie Ducharme, President of Synergy Learning Institute, and we are really excited today to have our second set of veteran speakers that we're doing a long series of this. And we have with us today Stephen Kuhn and Lane Belone. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much.
Well, I got a chance to work with you guys quite a bit. And I, of course, would love everyone to learn more about what you're doing. We're going to talk about this book right here. I've got my favorite book that I've read several times, and I'll be rereading again because we're going to do an even deeper dive as we're building out more with your guys' program. But I want to talk first about just both of you. You know, one of the things and the questions we get a lot from our veterans who are newly transitioning out are, you know, how have other veterans transitioned out? You know, what were some of your struggles, your barriers, and your tips, you know, for moving forward? You guys have been extremely successful in what you've been doing. So I would love for you to share that. And Stephen, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Well, you know, first, let's make it clear that success is relative, right? Success is what you think success is, right? So it could be anything. So that's really the first thing that I want to talk about, because along the way, I've been out 35 years, believe it or not. I'm 54. And the first years that I got out was really tough. I mean, ridiculous. Fights and jail and more fights and, you know, just a lot of trouble. But still, I had successes in there, right? But the key was that I never felt like I was there, like I made it, right? So through all this time of doing whatever I did, and I've done a lot of things, as you know, in the book, we talk about, you know, the celebrities I worked for and the rock stars and the parliament and all this kind of stuff. And it never fulfilled me. What I was chasing was this fulfillment or something bigger than myself. And instead of looking for something, I guess, more holistically fulfilling, I was looking for something more tangibly fulfilling, which doesn't work, right? Doesn't work. And so what I ended up doing was having a crash and burn like many of us do. And I ended up, as you know, with a suicide attempt and then in a monastery in the mountains of Austria. With the Benedictine monks. And yeah, I came out of that a different person to put it to the test. But the reason that Lane and I wrote the book, one of the reasons that we're doing that, we have the Have movement, one of the reasons we have the Have NFT and the Have missions, is so that people don't have to take 35 years to get where I'm going. Mm-hmm. Lane's a perfect example. I'll let him chime in. He's been out about 5 years now, I think, or 4 years now. Yeah. And he's in the beginning, and now he's so much further ahead than I was back in my day. That makes me sound old, but yeah.
Yeah, Lane, jump on in here, fill us in on you know, your transitional. But I know we could talk forever just on transition, but you know, I'd love to hear from your perspective too, which you two are kind of like yin and yang, right? Like you guys are like opposites, but you balance each other out.
Yeah, so it's but that's the journey to where, you know, what took Stephen X amount of years, what took me X amount of years. We're both trying to pave the path to share our different experiences, our different types of transition, and bring along all the people that could help assist veterans in a really meaningful, impactful way to transition, you know, even faster, you know. So instead of years, it could be months and going through that path. And it's not about shortcutting, but it's about understanding the different steps and just moving forward with your journey, and having a community of veterans and veteran supporters that can, you know, give the right piece of information at the right time, the right kind of course, the right wellness practice, the right business opportunity, the right investment opportunity. So all the things that Stephen and I have been doing for the past several years, they all have a meaning as part of the whole ecosystem that is the Have movement. So, you know, yeah, the transition that we each had in a different way, you know, provides a wide spectrum to be able to say, hey, we know what it looks like to take, you know, a longer journey, maybe on this part of your path. Maybe it's the wellness, maybe it's the mental health, the letting go of PTSD, the trauma, or maybe it's the, hey, I need some tangible steps on the business side. I need tangible steps to take in my life. And so we have this wide spectrum. And because we have that within each of us, we're able to then identify it in other people that have a very niched expertise, like, you know, here on this panel, you know, the education side, as an example. So that's the intent of the movement, is to gather the people that have expertise in their specific realm, their realm of influence, and to be a support system for any veteran, no matter where they find themselves on their journey.
Yeah, we meet them where they're at. We meet them where they're at. And we give them that, basically the Humble Alpha, Unleash Your Humble Alpha book is an operating system. It's like the operating system on your computer. It's something that never changes. Once you know your operating system and you like your Mac or your Windows, that's what you hold on to. You might add apps and get an upgrade or whatever, but you always hold on to the operating system. If you ask anybody out there, what's your operating system? They'll be like, well, I believe in honesty and, they say a few buzzwords and they feel good. But what we do with the Humble Alpha is actually through an accident, just Lean and I just letting go, we articulated an operating system with 5 core models, which then of course, hit the ground running, has now become university sort of material because of that, because it's something that you can have reference to, upon which you can build a foundation. Now, when you're doing something, you have reference to those parts in your life where you can move forward. And we think that's why we brought the HA, the Humble Alpha, into the veteran empowerment, the VE, and created HAVE, because that Humble Alpha is that operating system universal for male, female, young and old.
And that's a good point you made. So you said male and female, because a lot of times when people hear Humble Alpha, they naturally think that this is just for men, which you originally did write this, focused on the men, didn't you? Or just because I know a lot of women, myself, right? Like I read your book literally 7 times.
Yeah,
and the whole Humble Alpha leadership concept is different. And I love it because it's not this autocratic, alpha at the top, type of behavior. So let's dig deeper into what is the Humble Alpha and Humble Alpha leadership.
Lane?
Yeah, so I think it's a beautiful point to kind of hit. Yes, we wrote the original book for males because we needed a target audience. And we also knew that from the very moment that we knew the Humble Alpha was going to be a thing, that it was going to be universally applicable to both male and female. So yeah, we knew it was for everybody. But if you talk to everybody, especially when you're pioneering something new, it's really difficult to talk to somebody specifically. So that was the reason why the book was originally for men. So yeah, the Humble Alpha. Yeah, I mean, Steven's great at kind of starting off, the topic of the Humble Alpha. I just liked how he delivers it. So I think.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, when the book, I just talk about this women thing again, male and female, is we knew that if we targeted men, it would also draw on the women, like, what about me? Right, kind of thing, right? So, and it worked, because in the beginning, there was about 60% of the readers were women. So it was perfect. And then it started saying, like, why are you reading this book? And they said, because we want a man like that. It was like, okay, wait, is this a dating book now? It was like, it really went down this path of, these different routes. And I have to tell you, the impact that we have, look, the Humble Alpha, what's a Humble Alpha? The Humble Alpha, as I said, is an operating system, but which you can live by. It's 5 core principles. And that is HIT, honesty, integrity, and transparency, by which we live by. Honesty with yourself, while you do, say, and think like you do. Transparency is how you step into the world. With that honesty, it's your ongoing reputation. That makes you authentic. Authenticity allows you to dictate your market value. The byproduct of all that is integrity. Integrity is saying doing what you say you're going to do, not doing what you say you're not going to do. And if you screw up, fix it and apologize. Right? It's that simple. That's life. That's your whole life in those 20 seconds. You can live your life according to those principles. So and then we have creating space, showing up wholly and fully for the person in front of you, with no preconceived notions or cookie cutter solutions, or focus on the outcome, focus on the only thing that you can control, and that is the intention. Right? Taking imperfect action, co-creating as you move forward. Right? That's creating space. Then we have life enterprise. You're the CEO of your own life enterprise. Who does the CEO answer to in the business enterprise? Board of directors and the stakeholders. Board of directors is your family, stakeholders is your circle of influence. And how does the CEO treat the stakeholders in the board of directors? It elevates them, treats them good, leaves them in a better place than when they met them. You do the same thing as CEO in your life enterprise. And if you want to dig deeper and you want to build more relationships, you invest in relational capital. There's a guaranteed return on that. It may not be from that person directly immediately. It could be from someone else down the road, down the line. And all of that leads you to the one thing, the one equalizer across this globe in the universe, the one thing that everyone can honestly say that they seek, and that's quality of life.
Yes.
See, that's why he did that. Just sounds so good.
That's like so good. Like, Stephen, wow, you nailed it. And quality of life, you guys actually really inspired me to focus more on the quality of my life when I was reading through your book and helping you guys build the course. I'm a workaholic, and I very much started thinking to myself, like, wow, I really do need to look at quality of life, because what's the point of work if you're not also enjoying life? And I have 2 young kids. And so that was, an important thing for me to look at is, what's my quality of life, and where am I at?
Yeah.
So I know when I was reading through the book, that really hit me. And I really I actually made changes. Like, I don't do meetings till a certain time, and that gives me time to work out, to meditate, to take care of me. And then I now cut things off at night at a certain time. And once that's off, my phone is on quiet, it's off, because I realized that, I wasn't giving time for myself. And so those are some of the changes I made, which didn't seem like big ones, but were really transformational in getting me to just have more rest. I was refreshed. I wasn't burnt out as much. And so that's something that I implemented after reading your guys' book. Now, obviously, there's always exceptions to the rule sometimes when we're meeting a deadline, but I made that change. And so that was really, really transformational for me. I know you guys take a trip, and I want to touch on that really quick, because I think it's really unique what you do and where you go. So can you tell us about your trip you do once a year?
Lane can do that one.
Yeah. So Stephen and I actually, this is how him and I met.
Yep.
And it was many moons ago. He had posted in the Vetpreneur Tribe, said, "Hey, I just experienced this really powerful masculine awakening ceremony down in Peru." And I was like, whoa, and I'd seen a lot of his stuff, but then that really drew me in. And long story short, 8 months later, him and I are down in Peru, and we meet each other in person, in the flesh, for the first time, and we just hit it off. And so that has just been kind of like a tradition every year that him and I, we take veterans and entrepreneurs down to Peru, and we focus on the inward journey as well as the external journey. So we mix in having an adventure, going to and exploring ancient places that have very profound meaning to a lot of people in the Peruvian culture, and we focus on ourselves, on what we want to manifest, what we want to co-create in the world. And so it's a really powerful experience where we use plant medicine along with other types of indigenous ceremonies down in Peru. And we have shamans, we have guides, we have what's called Pacos, which is an Andean shaman. It doesn't directly translate, but we have these really powerful experiences to where we can, let go of the old story of who we are, and we can start writing a new story. And so literally every time we go down there, we write a new chunk, So that's where the Humble Alpha was coined. That's where the Humble Alpha was born. And 2 years later, that's where the Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment was created. And so as we adventure into Peru and other places, of course, but Peru specifically, we're writing our own story. And we invite other people to, co-author their own story, as well as co-author a shared story. So this year we're having many of our collaborators and business partners join us, so that way we can write a really powerful story.
I think together, co-creation. See, co-creation. That's what we talk about the whole time. Imperfect action, co-creation. I would say we always say when we talk about this, it's like people wait for something to get perfect and want to move forward. Everyone knows that. Just take action. But here's why. If you're sitting in a car, just a perfect example, you're sitting in a car and you're waiting for someone to drive by you. How long are you going to wait? Right? Or you can just start driving off slowly. How many more impressions are you going to have? How many more people are going to see? How many cars are you going to see? It's the same thing. Just move and co-create, move and co-create, move and co-create. That's what it's about. And that's what we're doing. We just started talking about it. We suggested it. Hey, why don't you guys come down? Next thing you know, we're going down there. We're co-creating the trip, the journey, the whole works. And it's a beautiful thing. Quality of life is simply enjoying the moment, no matter what the task. Like, we're enjoying this moment right now. We're simple, we're easy, we're having a good time, right? I'm sitting in a different place than I usually am, and it's got coffee handed to me. I mean, this is life. This is awesome.
Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm not at home. Put it that way. I'm not at home. So
where's my person having coffee? What's happening? I love that. And I think something that I really like about both of you is your transparency and your vulnerableness, right? A lot of times, especially with men, there's a real wall of no, we're guys, and that's what we do, and I love in your book, in the course, and even when we were in Houston, the transparency and your passion to want to support each other. And I wanted to dive a little bit more into your have movement, which I believe came about in your last trip to Peru, didn't it?
And Pedro called it.
Yeah.
So we work with ayahuasca and San Pedro. Ayahuasca is a divine feminine and San Pedro is a divine masculine. They call it the mother and the father, or the mother and the grandfather, right? And we work one night with ayahuasca, and then the next morning, which is the feminine, which is holistic. It's a holistic visionary. And then we work with San Pedro the next day, which is the grounding, and sort of gives you the feet and the boots on the ground to make it happen. And during the Pedro ceremony, I got a message like, write this down. And I was like, what? And I got a pen and I wrote have. And I was like, the hell is that? Have. And it literally in front of my eyes just went humble, alpha, veteran, empowerment. And I was like, Lane. Lane came over. I'm like, have. He's like, yeah. Humble, alpha, veteran, empowerment. That's it, man. Done. That was it. Like, it was like 20 seconds, you know. That's how Humble Alpha came about. That's how the book idea came. That's how so many things came about. And that's because it's already in us. And what the plant medicine allows you to do is release the pressure that you put on yourself to come up with ideas and solutions, right? Once you release and you expand your consciousness, everything's right in front of you. That's the craziness about plant medicine. And we're not talking psychedelics, getting high and all this kind of stuff. We're not talking that. We're talking facilitation through a professional, through age, you know, thousands of years of maybe 500 to 1,000 years of practice using this stuff. So it's incredibly powerful. I have no idea what question you asked me, but that was my answer.
Well, I think the cool thing about it though is we are actively co-creating in exactly the manner that we're talking about. So let's take imperfect action. So that happened, you know, on whatever day it was, and then 2 days later was pretty much the end of the trip. And so we were like, hey, we got to get this out here. And so we literally went out to the Temple of the Moon. We had our buddy Mark, he grabbed a camera, and we just sat right in front of that big temple, and we just spoke our intentions out. We had no idea how we're going to do it. We just said, hey, I mean, it's still up, you know, it's like an 18-minute video. We just press recorded, one take, just put it out there. But that's the imperfect action. And if we can do that and show the example of creating an entire movement off of an idea that we received and then taking imperfect action immediately, then we're trusting ourselves, and we're also showcasing for anybody else that wants to embrace the Humble Alpha operating system and say, well, maybe I don't want to start a movement, maybe I want to start a company, or maybe I want to help in my community and partake in what we're calling half missions. Maybe I can take imperfect action towards this one little area of my life. If these guys can start a whole movement and they're showcasing imperfect action at its finest or in its rawest form for anyone to see, then that's our part by helping showcase that this stuff works, that we can, you know, trust ourselves. We can have an idea that's like heartfelt and we know it's the right thing and take imperfect action. And, you know, that's part of why we do things out in the open, because, and that transparency is so important, is because people see the realness. They see like, yeah, these guys don't have it all together, but they're leading with their heart. They have a lot of experience. They have a lot of, you know, high performance stuff embedded in everything that we do. But for other people, you know, to create an entire movement, to create, you know, some of the things that we're creating right now, need an entire business plan, 30 pager. We need to understand, you know, all these different intricacies. And we're like, no, let's co-create this with people that have the experience, that have the heart, and that trust themselves and trust ourselves as a team.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I love first that you're saying you don't have to have it all perfectly together. I think a lot of times people think, oh, I want to start a business, I have to have everything perfect in order to start it. And if you look at some of the most successful business ideas, they were a bit of a mess when they started out. You know, everything from Bill Gates and Steve Jobs to one of my favorites, Sarah Blakely. I mean, she was selling fax machines door to door in Florida, and she hated the heat and hated wearing pantyhose. And, you know, she didn't know what she was doing. She had no business degree, but she just jumped into it. And one of her talks, just like you guys, you know, preach, is that if you want to do it, you've got to start it. You can't sit around and wait for it to happen, right? Someone's got to come. You can't say like, someday someone's going to come to me. Instead, you guys are going and finding people who complement your skills and saying, listen, I'm not a professional in this, but I'm good at this. And if we come together, we can create something that's so powerful, which is what you guys are doing.
Again, success is relative, but when people ask, hey, what's your guys' secret to success? Like, what is it? Why do you guys always sort of land on your feet and you're doing 10 different things, but really it's only one thing? And it's a big secret. So if you have a pen, viewer, get ready to write this down. It's huge. It's massive. You ready? It's called asking for help. So, every time I ask for help every single day, I don't care what it is. If I don't have this, if I don't have the solution put out in my head, I'm asking somebody to help me. And that means we had the idea for Have NFT. It was like, okay, we need to ask somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. So we talked to an advisor. He said, let me talk to two of my clients who are blockchain experts and a tech company. And they're like, yeah, we want it. And within 3 days, we had the project financed, right? We didn't even have a business plan. We had an idea that we just told somebody who told somebody. And funny enough, in the blockchain space, they make deals without contracts. They just transfer tokens back and forth and they're good to go. That's the contract.
Yeah.
So unbeknownst to us, we were actually doing exactly what they wanted. And why? Because we were taking perfect action, following our intuition and focusing on the intention of creating this thing instead of trying to figure out how to do it.
So
that's the big shift that a lot of people have a problem making. Okay, I have to set a goal, then I have to reverse engineer it, and I'm going to tell myself how to get there. Well, if you do that, your head's down to the ground, down to the grindstone, and you don't see all this out here. And we know what's out here: coincidence, luck, doors, connections, new ideas, new thoughts, new people, everything. So if you got your head hustling and grinding, head to the grindstone, you know all the statements, right? You're going to miss it all. So we talk about a micro view on your intention, macro view on the world. That's how you got to look. So you could see all these things out there. And so that's how we move. That's how we roll. And this is what happens. It's like we surprise ourselves so often, like, holy shit, that actually happened like that easy.
Well, and I love that because I have to say, when I was younger, and this is where I wish that this had been preached to me, is I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit and want, but it was very much shut down by many people. Now, not of course by my family, they were fantastic, but a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you're just too young for that, or you can't, and instead of encouraging, like my daughter just at age 13 published her first book because she said, Mom, I want to publish a book. And I said, okay, well, write it. And she kind of was like, I can. And I'm like, well, why not? And, that doesn't happen a lot. A lot of times people put like, well, once you get your degree, you can do this. Well, once you get your master's, well, once you become an expert in this industry, where all along you could have started that so much sooner. So I love that you guys are preaching this, because the asking for help is huge for me. I'm not a big asker. I had to really become that.
Everything we learned, Julie, you were a team sports player.
Yep.
Basketball, volleyball, right? What's the first thing you learn? You can't do it on your own, right? It's the same thing with the military. Can't do it on your own. What do? We get out, got to do it on my own. I got to do it on my own. I got to prove it to myself. It's crazy. No, teamwork, get it done. Find people, you know the old saying, surround yourself with people that are better in their disciplines than you are as a generalist. I mean, it's for me, it's a no-brainer. I would not waste the energy trying to figure something out. I want to stay in my zone. I want to stay in my area of genius. When we talk about certainty in the book, if we look at the book, it's all about identity, purpose, and certainty. And that certainty is what drives you through. Certainty not in the world around you, certainty in your ability to deploy your talents and your genius in the world around you in any situation. That's the certainty we talk about. And when you're certain like that, you enter a room, you own that room, you fill that room. You don't have to say a word. That's what a humble alpha does. You don't have to say, I'm here. You're there because you own your presence. You own who you are. And through knowing your identity and your purpose, it amplifies your identity to that point where people are like, who just walked in the room? And, that's not something that you try to conceive or you try to make happen. Some people do, but we don't need to train you, because once you own your identity and your purpose, and it's amplified, your identity is amplified through your purpose, you're rolling like big time. Yeah. You attract these things into your life. Too many people go out there and want to grab things. Attract it and receive it. That's for us, that's the most comfortable way to go, because if you're grabbing, again, you're in tunnel vision. You're focusing on one thing. So receive what's out there. Yeah,
absolutely. Well,
I know it's like we're two veterans talking this holistic stuff, but this is honest to God how we talk every day to each other. Like this is how we live, and the more we let it go and bring it out in the open, because in the beginning, let's face it, we were like, can we speak openly like this? People thinking we're gurus or something. But now the more we open and speak to it, people are like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we understand. So that movement is building more and more and more based upon this holistic, I guess you could say, foundation of Humble Alpha. It's amazing.
I love it. And you mentioned when you were talking about NFTs. So let's dive into that. Now, I'm going to preface this with, I have a lot of friends who are like, what's blockchain? What's the, and then I explain it to them and then they go, I don't get it. So maybe we can even do a little basic, a little basic overview of what that is, for people who might be new to this, and understand it. Because like I said, I've done explanations too, and they're like, huh? And I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to break this down even more basic. So why don't we dig into that?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest one of the easiest analogies is the internet, right? So we all pretty much were part of the transition of no internet to internet. And so a lot of people are focused on the technical things. And so that would be like back in the day, like, well, what is a website? You know, people were focusing on how do you create a website, all these kinds of technical things, when the value of it is the utility behind the website, the idea behind the website. So if you're creating a website for X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't really relate to you or it doesn't make sense, then we're focusing on the how to make a website. Again, so now we're in NFT space. We have the history of the internet. So instead of focusing on, you know, how do I create a blockchain myself, or what is the intricacies, or what's the tech behind it, you know, we don't know how to create an app on our phone. We don't know how to take off the back cover of an iPhone, do you? Like I say, most of us here don't know how to do it, but we know how to use the phone because we know its purpose behind it. So the same thing with NFT projects. So when we're looking at, you know, yes, there's the technical aspect of it, but what is the utility behind it? What purpose does it serve? How is it creating something in the world that may or may not have existed before? So for us, we're focusing on the veteran space for our NFT project, and you know, maybe, you know, Stephen has another perspective to add to it.
Yeah, sure. The NFT, non-fungible token, it means it's not fungible. Go figure. But basically what it is, it establishes ownership of an asset, digital or otherwise. So it's a digital asset, of course, but you can attach anything to it. You can attach real estate to that. You can attach, let's say, for instance, one of your courses, right? Let's say one of your courses. You make your course into an NFT and you sell that. You say you make 1,000 NFTs that are your course. You sell that course to someone. They can't pirate it. It's owned by them. No one can steal it or whatever. They can give it away, but they'd be stupid to give it away. They could sell it. And then when every time that gets sold from person to person to person to person, you're getting a royalty because you're the creator. That's an NFT, basically. So the same thing goes for fractional real estate investment, fractional VC, venture capital. It's basically, this is my token that shows that I own whatever's attached to it according to the blockchain smart ledger. Smart ledger means once it's there, it can't be changed, can't be altered, can't be stolen, can't be hacked, nothing. And that's why it's so important. This is creating permanent records of ownership of whatever's out there and trackable. So who owned it before me, that kind of stuff. And so that's where this NFT comes from, is once they sell it, the secondary market kicks in and they start trading and selling, and then they can stake it, or they leave it in one of the wallets for a while and they collect interest on it if they don't touch it for a year and this kind of stuff. And it does get complicated, but once you, so like Lane said, we don't even like get into that. Like, what's the application? We're allowing through the NFT, and anyone who acquires a Have NFT Marine Bulldog, the first launch on 7 March, is they, first of all, we drop 5% profits into up to 100 veteran nonprofits, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is they have access through that then in the digital space and in the real space. Real space, Lane talked about all the things we do, live events and all that kind of stuff. And then in the digital space, you have access to our app that's coming out. You have access to the networking that happens online. You have access to other people that are in your area. Let's say you're going to meet because you all have the Have NFT, right? And then you have the ECTA side. Now, ECTA is our blockchain partner, the only blockchain platform in the world that exclusively works with real world impact projects. So they're doing a reforestation project, and the water cleansing project, and feeding children projects, all connected to the blockchain. So they're going about real world because they believe there's no sense making just art and selling it online like a lot of the NFTs are. There's no utility, there's no application behind it. And so they have investment pools, they have investment opportunities, listings. Their token price just went up 140% in the last week because of these projects and because of the listings. And if anyone knows anything about stocks and bonds, 140% is a big deal. You know what I mean? So no matter what you've invested or what you've bought. So this all all together sounds complicated, but it's not. It's not. You purchase an NFT, you have access to our community, you have access to the real world, the digital, the investment, wealth, and abundance sort of training and opportunities that we have through ECTA, our partner, and through our programs that we have.
So if someone wants to purchase an NFT, maybe we could put in the chat or the link where they could go. I know I put your guys' website in the chat,
Yeah,
but maybe you guys
we
can
can do
put that in there as
yeah.
well.
Let's have NFT.com. You gotta put in the full, because in order to keep the spammers away, you can't just put www. You have to put the whole HTTPS www.nft.com. I just did that for you. You can go there, click on read the white paper. You know all about what we're doing, or you can scroll down, read the roadmap. Crazy stuff going on. We are going to. Look, we're not creating the wheel new. We're just consolidating what's already out there. Because let's face it, 22 veterans a day are killing themselves for 20 years. It's not changing. There was 10,000 or 8,000 nonprofits 20 years ago. There's 30,000 now, and it's still 20 every single day. 22, sorry, right? And we got to change that. So we were like, okay, let's consolidate. Let's do those 100 nonprofits. Let's give them all money. Let's consolidate, have one umbrella where they get more focus, more notability, and more visibility and more exposure. And this way, we're going to have more of an impact in the veteran space. And then along with the veteran healing space, which Lane is heading up, and that could be anything. That could be plant medicine, ketamine, sound healing, you name it, whatever works in that space. And so this is huge. This is huge.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, we did an event together in Houston, and you know, we received an email from a woman who said, you know, I was thinking about committing suicide, but I changed my mind after attending your event and hearing what you had to say. And she is a veteran. And that's a huge thing, because it shows that we're making a difference in everything we're doing. And so, you know, I love what you guys are doing here, because it's innovative, it's different. You're thinking outside of the box. You know, it's not just about, you know, sending someone to a training and this. It's so much bigger than that.
It's an ecosystem. It's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And another area that I wanted to talk on real quickly, and then we'll also leave time for some questions, pardon me, is also your course. You know, you guys did the book, and then the course is definitely a deeper dive into humble alpha leadership. And you know, let's talk about that a little bit, because you guys do also one-on-one consulting and training and so forth. And, you know, when someone's thinking about taking this course, maybe they've read your book and they're thinking like, man, I really want to go a little deeper. You know, what do you feel they could get from that deep dive in the course?
Well, it's about really doing it, you know, so people do stuff halfway all the time, and they dive into it a little bit. They ask themselves certain questions only halfway. But I think what the course really offers is a deeper level of commitment, of accountability, and understanding that I really got to do the work, because, you know, the resources are out there, you know, how to find my purpose. So every answer that you're looking for is already on the internet for free, but you're not going to do it because whatever reason, it's not valuable to you or XYZ. So we've taken the level of the humble alpha operating system, and we've created basically the conditions to where you're going to take this thing seriously. You're going to do the work. You're going to go deeper than what you would likely do in the book. There's different questions. There's different exercises inside the course. So being able to really, I mean, it really is just simple as doing the actual work for real, because, you know, Stephen and I, we do, you know, advisory work with different types of entrepreneurs and leaders. Yeah. The answers are almost always very simple, but having the willpower, the energy, the focus to actually do the work for real is what separates, you know, the great advice out there and the internet for free, and diving into a really powerful course like the Humble Alpha Leadership with you guys.
And I know too, you know, being able to be a part of working on that with you guys, there is some great action steps that you take at the end of each module. And it really is diving deep. And when I was working with it and looking at everything, you know, it's work. You know, you got to answer some tough questions and you got to dig a little deeper. It's not a surface type of exercise that you might think you would get. And, you know, so it really, I think, will challenge people who are really diving deep into this and kind of uncovering it. So, and I don't want to take it all up. I know I've got a couple other veterans here on on the talk. So I was hoping Karen, Dr. Karen, our Marine here, would jump in and ask a few questions, because I love the help question. I know, Karen, as a Marine, you always talk about, you're a Marine, you don't need any help. But I'm gonna let you jump in for a second. You're muted though, by the way.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, as a retired Marine, I love an opportunity to meet with veterans, and um, just hearing from Steve and Lane and being able to meet you this last year in Houston was a great opportunity. But what I really enjoyed most was the community that you've built. And I think for a lot of veterans, when we transition to the civilian setting, that's what we miss most, is that camaraderie. And I think your HAVE program, and also just the Humble Alpha community that you've built, um, really feeds into that, the camaraderie element. I mean, just being around the community that you've built with HAVE now, I felt that a lot. And talking to your membership, every single one of your members and people that have been with you have told me that, they've learned so much from Humble Alpha, and just following the steps and following your program. So I did want to just commend you both on that. But I really, just for those that are watching and the people that are get this recording, just wanted to see if you could mention kind of how they can connect with you, just to be a part of that community, but also with your course, how can they get access to this? And then, if their work could, pay for that, because those would be great opportunities just for them to be able to be a part of it. Because I think as veterans, like you said, we're hesitant to ask for help. We want to do stuff on our own, but you can tap into those resources just by, asking your employer even to, do that. So if you have ideas for that, how can they get access to you?
Well, they can get access to us. Basically, Lane and I are so accessible, it's ridiculous. I mean, you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, our website, humblealpha.com, have-nft.com, which we just posted. We're accessible everywhere. And as far as the course goes, look, like Lane said, people buy the book all the time. They're like, "Oh, I read your book, was amazing. Did you do the action steps?" Well, no, I didn't. And that's the whole point. So it's five sections. Each section has a story or two, a lesson from that story, and then the exact action steps of what, not how, remember, what to do to unleash your own version of your Humble Alpha. And so it's imperative, if you're not a reader that likes to take action, then take the course, because that's going to give you, it's interactive, it's audio, it's visual, and then there's some work that you to do as well as writing down. So you have every sense is every sense is involved in the entire process, which embeds it into your subconscious even deeper. So it will become a part of you. Just reach out. Do you have any questions? So we have people reaching out all the time. You can join us in the Vetpreneur Tribe if you're a veteran entrepreneur. Vetpreneur Tribe on Facebook. We have the Warrior Council. Warrior Council is a paid group. That's where those from the Vetpreneur Tribe or other veteran entrepreneurs come in, and they pay a very nominal small fee for actually now it's 8 weekly sessions of consulting and basically support, accountability with each other and collaborations. We've had a lot of people in those groups, a lot of soldiers and airmen and Marines and even the Coast Guard they've gotten together and collaborated and really made a difference in each other's lives. I mean, we had one guy who you think it's not a big deal, but he cleans grills, right, for a living in Texas. He cleans grills, and he started his business and he joined us, and he called us last week. We're like all excited and said, "Hey, I did $174,000 last year in cleaning grills, thanks to you guys." We're like, damn, like, yes, brother, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And he's already graduated into the healing space, and he's just taken off. I mean, this came through not us saying do this and do that and do this. It's just the Humble Alpha is adaptive to your own personality, to your own will and the way you want to go. But it's just those 5 models that you live by that adapted to who you are and your personality that just makes it all so wonderfully impactful in any way you take it.
And I did put in the chat, I put a link to your guys' course through our Envisage portal. We put in the Synergy Learning Institute link in there as well that you can click on for more info. I know what we're doing today is we're offering a 50% discount for veterans. So you can click on that Synergy Learning link and it will send an email to us, tell us you're interested in the Humble Alpha and you heard about it on our veteran speaker series, and we will connect with you guys and help you with that. And the other thing that we, well, actually, I have another veteran on the call here, Dr. Powers. Do you have any questions? Or I know I'm putting you on the spot, but Dr. Powers here is also a veteran. Okay, do I have it? Was it Navy or Marines? I'm forgetting.
Marine Corps.
Okay, Marine Corps.
Oh man, you don't want to mix those two up. You don't want to mix those two up.
I know, that's why I carefully treaded on that. But
That's for sure.
Dr. Powers here works with us on all different educational levels. And of course, he was one of the people who helped accredit Stephen and Lane's course. But it's also a pleasure to work with him because he lives in several spaces, business and academia, and of course, a veteran. So I didn't know if you had any questions or anything you wanted to throw out there, Dr. Powers.
Well, thanks for that. No, I guess I just want to support the concept. As a veteran, I know some of the issues, and I'll show my age here. I'm a Viet veteran, so I had issues just like Stephen did. Coming out of the service, what do you do and how do you do it? And my background is in business, but also in academia. So what Julie and I have done is taken the concept of practical application of academic theory through strategic partners like Lane and Stephen, and providing that expertise out there, but on the basis of college level credit and practical application that makes sense. So you guys are doing a great job. I think that's exactly what is needed out there. And that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
appreciate that.
And I love, we have veterans from all different eras and all different, ranks and all different places. It's a great place to be. And over the last 8 years, I've got to spend countless hours with many, many veterans, men and women, hearing their stories of transition, hearing their frustration, hearing their needs. And probably one of the most important things that you guys are preaching is that you've just got to step out and do it. A lot of people are waiting. Well, maybe if, I'll go get my degree and in 4 years, then I'll do it. Oh, well, I don't have a business degree, so I can't be an entrepreneur. That's not true. And I agree with you guys. Sometimes it's messy and it's imperfect. But I think one of the best things I ever did for me, and I know you guys will echo this, is that my job is my passion. So I absolutely love every day going to work, because it's my passion. And I know this is, your guys' passion as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is our passion.
Well, I just wanted to hit on the community too, because, Dr. Karen brought it up. It's so important to have that kind of community as the central point of everything that we do, because it helps you in so many different ways. It helps you identify what the next step is. Does that mean that you need to take a step towards business or taking some kind of structure or course? Or maybe it's more of like other kinds of support to where like, hey, I know exactly what you're going through. And these are the steps that I took on my healing journey, on my figuring out who I am, finding out my purpose. So the community has it all. And different people within the community have different levels of expertise. And that's why, again, the Humble Alpha operating system is such a beautiful thing, is that we all focus on who we are, our zone of genius, and the areas in which we need support are readily available by somebody who is in their zone of genius and their purpose. And so it works not only with individuals, so everybody on this call has a different kind of path. It's leans towards this, leans towards that, or what have you. But as a collective, we all have everything pretty much covered. So if you want to get help with business, we got you covered. If you want to help with, I need help mentally, spiritually, emotionally, we got you covered. So the community is the centerpiece. And sometimes whenever you know what the step is, sometimes you need a little bit of accountability, or, hey, let me follow up and make sure that you actually take the step. So the power of the community is one of the most important things that we're cultivating within the whole entire ecosystem, and allowing organizations, nonprofits, businesses to be exactly what they are, and we're just a connection piece. We're corralling the right folks that are living by the humble alpha operating system, doing good stuff in the world, and then just helping veterans find those people in a much easier way, a much more community driven way.
I love it. I love it. Well, as we come down to the end of this talk, for those of you who are listening or be listening to this recording, make sure to check out the chat. It has all the links that you can reach Stephen and Lena. You can, of course, always reach out to Synergy Learning Institute, and we will connect you with them as well. And check out all their movements that are going on, their Facebook groups. It's just a really tremendous thing. And I feel that you guys are making huge strides in business, in the veteran space, and in so many other spaces, leadership. So I'm really excited to be working with you guys. And if you guys haven't taken their course, I absolutely recommend it. It is all about application. And I think some of you guys don't want to apply it because you might have to, it might be a little tough, right? Like, when you do something, you go, man, that was hard. It was good, but it was hard. And that's what you guys need to do. So if you're sitting there, because I have a lot of people go like, I just really want to start something. And I say, so start it. And they go, well, but, and so I just want to encourage anyone listening that if you've been thinking about it, this is the time to do it. And Stephen and Lane are great guides to help you on that path. So thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Really appreciate it. And excited to see everything that's happening with NFTs and all that you're doing.
Thank you so much for
Joey.
having us.